Yo, call me homework the way I'm not doing you. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Game Skits. Today, and only today, we are here, that's right, to rank every Mario game available on Switch. It's been a long 6 years of the Nintendo Switch. I'm sure there's still some more Mario stuff to come, but I figured we would sit down and rank every game that is Mario involved, at least here. So this list has basically every Mario title, including Mario Universe titles, so they have their tropical freeze, which, you know what, fuck it, we'll allow it. And also, this is in release order, so that's really good for us, you know, discussion-wise and everything. Make sure to subscribe to your boy and let me know your favorite Mario games available on the console too. Alright, so let's start with Mario Kart Deluxe. I think we can all agree, Perfect Ultra Instinct. It is a game that already on, you know, from the original Wii U game was pretty fantastic, you know, besides battle mode and maybe needing more tracks. But now that we have the booster pass complete with like the game having 96 tracks total, right? And also, you know, a good battle mode, also a bunch of characters. I feel like, you know, the game went having from an awful roster from the original Wii U launch to probably the best one in the series, is an incredible redemption in that sense. And just, they made a game like almost 10 years ago now that I still think is just unmatched. Like, there's still no other game that feels this good to play, at least in, like, you know, the racing karting space. I know people have their Forza Horizons and all that, but you know what I mean? Like, as a kart racer, nothing matches Mario Kart 8. Why did I say Ace? The fuck? And I just sit here and think sometimes, like, fuck, what are they gonna do next, man? You know, like, how do you go up from here, man? Next, you have Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Now, I think this one is honestly Super Saiyan God. I think it is a game that shocked everybody, you know, and I think to this day, I still think in some ways is probably better than the second game, because I know the second game, you know, does a lot more in terms of gameplay and additions and blah 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 and changes the gameplay, but I feel like this game was so shocking. It was so different. It was something that we all thought was set to fail when the rumors were coming out. You know, you all know the story. It leaked a bunch of times. We were all making fun of the fact that they're making, you know, a Rabbids game with Mario. We thought it would be a disaster, but it turned out super good. It got some banger DLC, and you could tell the team behind it just had passion, you know, with the song remixes they made, with how the game looked, with all the references, everything. It's such a well made, you know, tactical game that it's so fucking good. Next, you had Super Mario Odyssey. Again, perfect UI right there with Mario Kart. I think even I would still put it above Mario Kart as a Nintendo Switch title. I still can't believe, you know, we didn't get a sequel to this game, and it's pretty clear to me that there isn't going to be. You know, at this point, we're about to enter year 7 of Nintendo Switch next year, which is fucking crazy. And I feel like at this point, Nintendo has probably decided, like, hey, we're probably just gonna do something different. But honestly, that if anything, that makes Mario Odyssey a little more special in that sense, right? Like, the capping mechanic is so satisfying, right? It's such a good mechanic, you know, the idea that you're going around capturing everything. You can, like, the environment becomes literally not only your playground to explore, right, but your playground to, you know, mess with, right? Everything around, you know, is capturable. You have all these different forms. You have insane kingdoms, you know, from obviously, you know, the Metro Kingdom, from the, you know, the Jungle Kingdom, from the Luncheon Kingdom, and the Sand Kingdom. Like, it's like the kingdom variety is so good. I do know, like, you know, it's funny, on replays of the game, 100%ing it is not as fun, right? Because I feel like, you know, the game has a lot of moons where it's like, you know, stomp on the ground, you get a moon, right? Like, just hit this block and you get a moon. The game is just meant to overdose you on, you know, finding things, but it is a means to explore every nook and cranny of the environment. I would say there's no notable part of a level that doesn't have some kind of moon or two in there. And just the energy of this game is immaculate, you know, from your jump up superstars to even just the movement, dude. Like, being able to jump, throw the cap, do a dive into it, into another jump, and just the movement is so good. The transformations are so clever. It's just like, this game just has creativity left, right, up and down and on the side. It is the pinnacle of 3D Mario. All right, so we have our first weird one, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. Again, if this is a Mario list, I'm going to put this in Super Saiyan God. I really do adore Tropical Freeze. I know people hail it as, you know, one of the best platformers of all time, and I think the thing I love the most about Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze is just, you know, the sheer variety of levels, right? You know, how differently styled each level is within a world. You know, you'll be in a level where you're jumping on jellos, in a world where there's silhouette levels. Sometimes, you know, there will be a giant storm in the environment. Sometimes there'll be a forest fire. Like, what I love about the game so much is, like, it never feels like you're trapped to just a jungle, right? It uses its, you know, levels and aesthetics so nicely, and there's just, it's so challenging, it's so fun. Getting on 100% this game is a nightmare, but it is also peak content. And again, I really do want to stream it someday just because the game is so good. But yeah, no, I love everything they did with Tropical Freeze, and showed, you know, that retro is more than just, you know, a Metroid studio. And I remember when they first announced Donkey Kong Country Returns, the first one, people were so mad. They're like, what is retro doing? And even when they announced this game, they're like, why aren't they doing Metroid? But we got an incredible game here, you know, playing as the different Kongs is super satisfying. Just, they cooked, bro. They really did cook with a banger Donkey Kong game. All right, Mario Tennis Aces, of all the Nintendo Switch sports games, I think is Super Saiyan, right? I think that's as high as it's going to get, because it was the one that I felt like at launch had a pretty good amount of content. You know, you had a campaign that was pretty satisfying, that was pretty fun. You had an online that actually was super fast, like you had matches like this, right? And the gameplay to me is just so good, right? I know obviously people like to joke about the fact that, oh, it's like a fighting game. It's not necessarily that it's a fighting game, it's just that its mechanics are very rock, paper, scissors. You know, you have your heavy attacks that you can throw in, but then you have to manage your meter, you know, so that way maybe you could do an ultimate attack or use some of your meter to slow down time and catch up to the ball. You build meter by, you know, getting perfect shots. Like, the game has so much strategy to it. Honestly, its post-launch content was very quick, right? You were getting characters pretty much almost monthly, to the point where, you know, the final roster was fucking awesome. The game even got these little extra side modes. Like I said, the game just felt fun to play. It felt like it had a good ranking system. It felt like it was getting constant updates. Like, it felt like we were on a good path for what Mario sports games on the console were gonna be, but little did we know. All right, so we have another port here with Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. I think this game is Super Saiyan God. I think for a puzzle game, it is fantastic to this day. Is the additional content, you know, that much worth it? Not really. You know, you get some Odyssey levels in there, but for the most part, the game itself is just so beautiful. It's a pretty game. It's a satisfying to play game. I love the sheer puzzle variety in there, and I love, you know, playing as Toad or Toadette, you know, and just going through these levels and trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to solve this without being able to jump? You know, taking away the fundamental thing that makes a Mario game, and just having this character, you know, use these different power-ups, trying to solve, you know, these little almost diagram Rubik's Cube type areas you're in. And sometimes they get crazy wild, sometimes they're big, sometimes they're small. There's even boss fights thrown in there. Like, it's just the level of creativity that the team had to add to make a full title like this based on, you know, a little mini game in 3D world was awesome. Now, Super Mario Party is aight, right? Let me explain why. Because I think after, you know, being in a car for a few games, we were depressed. You know, we went into clinical depression. The franchise is at an all-time low. But then came Super Mario Party, where it felt like things were going back to normal, right? Yeah, everyone is separated and we are on a board again. You know, we are so back, we are so traveling. But this game decided to sort of, you know, shorthand itself in some ways. Like, one, the boards are so small, like ridiculously small, to the point where, you know, stars are like 10 coins instead of 20. You can't even do that many turns. I think what the max turns is like 30 in the game. I don't think you could do a 50 or even less maybe. And I just think, you know, that the game is so much quicker paced with its matches. It has this weird dice system where like each character has a unique dice, which in principle is a good idea, but in some way just makes things a little unfair sometimes. And I know obviously Mario Party is meant to be unfair. It is inherently, right? But there was something about that mechanic that felt like, well, this is just stupid. Like, now there's no way for me to come back. But I will say the mini games were very fun. It did very good use of the Joy-Con, and I still like a lot about it, but it just felt so bare bones. And the fact that the game only got online like what, a year or two after launch, and it was just a test out for the online for Superstars, was so weird. Okay, so I feel like having Smash here like definitely should have counted. I'll put it in UI just because it's, you know, it's Smash and Peak, but I don't count it in this conversation. Next up, we have New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. Honestly, it's the definition of aight. I'm sorry. You know, as much as I love Mario, I love 2D Marios, and I think it is a polished Mario game, it is just so generic, you know, like the hook, like the raccoon or whatever flower, that the acorn ability is so lame. Like, it's just a glide, you know. And then the levels are just kind of generic, you know. There's some fun ones, there's some ambitious ones in there, but just even as like a deluxe port, well, we got Peachette, you know, and that's really it. But it's just, this game is just aight, you know. It's not, like I said, it's fun. The new Super Mario Bros. Games are all fun, but it's just as a 2D Mario game, like after we had gotten so many new Super Mario Bros., I was tired of it, you know, and I think this game, while I feel like this game could be a lot more than it is, I feel like this game would have stood out more had there not been New Super Mario Bros. Wii or New Super Mario Bros. DS. I feel like if this was a standalone new 2D Mario game, it would have been a lot cooler to go to, you know, the desert, jungle, ice, and all these areas, because those levels in this game have different themings. You know, you have like the cake looks like a desert a little bit. You know, the desert world looks like a cake. My brain is broken. You have the ice world, you know, with some aurora borealis. But like I said, my biggest flaw with this game is you can only name like 2 unique levels, and that's like the Van Gogh painting one. I don't know, one of the sky levels that looks pink, I guess. Yoshi's Crafted World, right? I think this game is kind of clean. I know a lot of people don't like this game, and I feel like actually a lot of people have just simply forgotten about this game. But what I love so much about it is it leans into its aesthetic so hard, and some of the levels just look incredible. You know, it really feels like you are just in a playground, right? And you're sometimes in a playground. Jungles are formed with like, you know, empty paper tower rolls, and then like the leaning into the crafted side of it, I thought was so good. Yeah, and I know the hook of the game is the whole thing where you can, you know, go through a level backwards, and one, I find that's pretty creative, right? The fact that, you know, a level can be played from start to finish and finish to start. But I know sometimes that can be a little boring, but I gotta say, like, the aesthetic of this game for me cares, and the gameplay is, you know, it's what you expect from a modern Yoshi game. Obviously, we don't have the baby anymore, which I wish we had. But it's like the game is fun, bro. Like, the game has such fun levels, and it is like literally just a delight to look at. It's such a fun game to look at. Now, Super Mario Maker 2, I'm putting it in Super Saiyan God, right? Especially after all the content's gone. I adored this game, right? It took everything that the first game had, except for the amiibo costumes. I don't know why we killed those, and just improved upon it. One, it actually gave you a single player campaign as well through it, you know, that you could see all the mechanics and different things the game had to offer. Two, the 3D world art style that they added was so good. If anything, that's how I pictured and thought the next 2D Mario was going to be, because I was like, damn, this looks like, you know, a 2D game, but it has, you know, 3D stylings to it, to the point, you know, where you could have background bullets and everything interact with the environment. So I just think Mario Maker 2 like allowed people to creatively flex a bit more. You had obviously slopes, which were a big deal. You had new power-ups in there. You just, the way you were able to mix and match styles. You even had like the Super Mario Land power-up. They had so many power-ups and things from the series, and I love Super Mario Maker because seeing modern day sprites from, you know, World or 3 or even 1, you know, with different enemies and stuff, it's still so fucking cool to me. It's still cool to me that Nintendo even allows us to exist as a concept. Again, the two things that set this game back are, one, the online. For some reason, the online in this game is so insufferably laggy. Like, it's so bad, which I feel like is a big reason why Mario Wonder didn't have regular online. You know, they could have updated it more. They could have added more stuff. Where's the amiibo costume? Also, by the way, I love that Link is playable in this game in certain levels. I found that was really creative, but it's like there are still some restrictions. Not everything is able to be played in every art style. There are some things that are exclusive to a certain one, but creatively super good. But I also think the game still has a problem with level curation. You know, I feel like unless you are someone that is going online and looking up, you know, best Mario Maker levels or going to community posts and all that, you have a tough time finding really good levels, because typically the ones on the top are like, here's a song, here's, you know, one quick gimmick that's 20 seconds. But overall, extremely happy Mario Maker 2 exists. Next up here, actually, you know what, we have Luigi's Mansion 3, which I'm going to go ahead and put it in Super Saiyan God as well. I think this game, for Luigi's Mansion game, is immaculate. By the way, this game has sold, you know, an insane amount of copies. This game has sold like 13, 14 million copies out there, and it's just so fucking good. One, we are so back with the unique bosses, right, that was lacking in Luigi's Mansion 2. I love the idea of a haunted hotel instead of a regular mansion. You know, the idea of going up these different floors, and they all have different themings. I thought that was super creative. The game is gorgeous, by the way. Like, the team at Next Level were insane with how the game looked. The game fundamentally was so fun to play. I will say, just like Luigi's Mansion 2, 100%ing it is not as fun. And also, one of the worst things about this game is the backtracking. There's this weird thing where you have to go up and down certain floors, and it's not always super clear, and that's kind of the worst part about it. But when this game gets creative, it's awesome. You know, sometimes you're fighting a boss on like a haunted ghost ship. Sometimes you're on floors that's like set like a movie set. There's some rooms that are like music rooms. There's really funny, creative moments. And also, Mario at the end of this game is on crack. He is a fucking psycho for some reason. He's losing it. But I think, like I said, creatively, the game is super dope. We have King Boo, who's also the GOAT, so I can't be mad at him. And just a really good way to continue to showcase how dope Luigi's Mansion is as a concept. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games is eyed. It is the definition of an eyed game. It is a bunch of sports we have played before. I do like that they tried a little bit more this time by having, you know, the campaign in there. And I really, really love the sprite work. You know, there's the sprite levels you could do where you run around as the little pixel characters. But I wish they leaned even more into that. You know, I wish they had done more retro styled levels like that, because the ones that were in there were really cool, but it's like it wasn't enough, right? And that's, I feel like, a problem with the Mario and Sonic Olympic Games. It's like there's nothing to do after that first day where like you just play all the games. Just like, all right, well, I did this. There isn't really a good ranking system online. There isn't really like it's almost like trying to make a Mario Party game where every game you have the exact same mini games. You know, at some point you're just like, I played this, you know, maybe there's a few more in here, but it's like it's the same thing I've played like 7 times now. All right, Paper Mario and the Origami King, I'm going to put it in kind of clean, right? Because yes, I know we have strayed far from the path of what Paper Mario is, and thankfully we're going back with the 1,000-year door. But I do think this game, one, is hysterical. Like, genuinely, I don't know how the writers there do it, where like this, for some reason, is just one of the funniest fucking things they could ever make. Like, it's comedic as hell. It's got really unique, I feel like of the modern Paper Mario's, this is the best one, right? You know, you have a partner that you actually care about. You have a story that's actually interesting. You have cool segments. You have cool areas like this night desert that, you know, goes into like a bizarre type of beat. You know, you get some beautiful, that the yellow area is fantastic. The partners are back, right? Even though they are still limited, that they're not always there. Like the yellow area with the samurai stuff going on. Obviously, our boy Bob, you know, dying right in front of our eyes. You have a cool like boat mission that you end up going on. Like, I think the game does a really good job of, you know, having stuff like the hub area, having certain, it's like we are so close to having a new Paper Mario that plays like old Paper Mario. And I think they know people want that, right? Obviously, we're getting a remake of 1,000-Year Door, right? But if like we eventually get a game that, you know, has the Origami King aesthetic, but with the gameplay of something like a Paper Mario 1,000-Year Door 64, then we are so back to peak. But for now, I had a great time with this game. Not a game I really revisit, but still, for the time I played it, enjoyed it. All right, now Super Mario 3D All-Stars. Okay, look, as a package, I get it, right? It's not available anymore, which is kind of ass. There's nothing unique about this package, but I will give it Super Saiyan on the sole merit that it has Mario 64, Mario Sunshine widescreen, and Galaxy without, you know, the motion controller thingy. So I think inherently it has 3 games that I adore, 3 of some of the best 3D Mario games ever. I wish it had Galaxy 2. I wish there was more to do in the collection, but those games are bangers, so I will allow it to live there. Super Mario 35, honestly, I'm giving this game an 8. One, you can't play it anymore, which is kind of a situation. But for what it was, I had a great time with it. I did feel like there was something a little too simple about it, and I feel like maybe leaning into just being Mario 1 areas is probably the biggest flaw it has. I would have loved if, you know, they had updated the game and added maybe Mario 2 in there. Mario World 35 would have been super dope. Like if it had got continuous aesthetics, continuous updates and stuff, it would have been fire. But them killing it off was just a very lame decision. But for the time I was in there, I had a good time. I didn't really feel too much incentive to replay it as much. I know you could unlock different levels in Mario 1 in there the more you leveled up, but it's just, it didn't have that hook that much. Mario Kart Home Circuit or whatever, I'm putting this in S. I've played this, the camera is ugly, you play it one time, you've gotten your fix, and that's really it. Maybe some little Timmy out there is having a great time building tracks with the 4 things, but just, it's so limited. It's such a gimmick, you know, that's all it is. This is just, you know, a gimmick idea that in concept is cool, but in like any 99% of people's percentages that want to play this are probably not gonna do shit with this and get bored with it after 1 session. All right, 3D World plus Bowser's Fury is easily going in Super Saiyan God. It is not quite perfect UI yet, and the reason for that is I still think 3D World and even Bowser's Fury are limited, right? I think 3D World as a game limits itself. Obviously, it has very creative levels in there, but I still think to this day, I don't like that these levels don't feel fully fleshed out. You know, you kind of, I adore a lot about the game. Obviously, it's very high up there for me, and I want to talk about that, right? But I feel like when it came to 3D World for me, like the issue is like when I go back and play it, I'm not as happy, right? Or 100%ing it is not as satisfying, and Mario still feels a little stiff to control. Obviously, you can play as the other characters, but it's just, it feels inherently limited, but it is a consistent showcase of creativity, right? The levels are constantly changing. There's a lot of unique different levels in there. You know, I love like the beat block switching level. I love some of the levels where those ants are walking around. I love that one level that's like an SNES Mario level running. Like, this is, you know, this game, it has so much creativity, and Bowser's Fury is fucking awesome. Like, as a mode, it is so cool, and I think it is the foundation of what the next 3D Mario could be. And even like what I love about Sonic Frontiers, right, where it's, hey, here's a big area, you know, do this type of puzzle, this type of puzzle, this type of puzzle. I will say Fury Bowser is still the rawest thing Nintendo's ever done with the character, and I still, to this day though, right, still believe that it got annoying at some point where you would just show up and you'd be like, all right, man, like, this was cool the first 5 times. Now you're just annoying me with how many times you show up. I do think sometimes it's a little formulaic. You know, I wish when you went to different islands, you had a unique type of challenge. Instead, it was always get the key, get the 5 cats, get this thing. Like, it had a formula, which the big thing and great thing about Mario is usually it breaks the formula, or it keeps things constantly fresh. Whereas I felt like this mode, while as a whole mode was creative and awesome, it was still, you know, a little bit restricted. It felt like it was a beta for something crazy that they were building. Next up, we have Mario Golf Super Rush. Immediate ass. They fumbled very hard with this game. Already, you know, Mario Golf, I feel like is a hard sell at full price, but they did it. And usually I have fun with the Mario Golf games. I like the Mario Golf games, but God, this time, bro, campaign absolutely awful. Like, it's not a good campaign. You know, it is inherently annoyingly tutorially. Sometimes it tries to do boss fights or gimmicks that are frustrating and take forever, right? And the rollout of content was super bad because they barely had characters at launch, you know, and just the game is so lame. The super big arena mode is lame and no one ever wants to play it. You know, the best part of the game is like the inherent just golf part of it, and I think that's really fun and works really well, but just, oh God, this game is just, it's like the definition of whatever. It's sass, you know, like it has its fun moments, but it's like, it's so disappointing. Warioware Get It Together. Actually, I'm going to put this game in kind of clean. Actually, I had a good time with this game. I did play it one time. Now, you know, I did go back a few tests for some high scores, but I thought the Warioware gimmicks were super fun. The levels are super creative. It's such a stupid game, which is, you know, why it's so charming. But what I loved about this game is this game did this hook where you could play as the different characters, and because of that you were able to beat all the mini games in very different ways. Sometimes obviously characters were better than others, right? But like, it was cool that you had that option to beat these levels differently and play it in your style. And like I said, it keeps the wackiness of Wario. It's super fun, it's super charming. I really do think the biggest flaw this game has is you can't play online, because the game promotes so many of these together games, of these multiplayer games, that you just, unless you have people locally, you're just never gonna experience these, and it sucks. Next up, we have Mario Party Superstars. No cap, I'm putting this in Super Saiyan God. I love Mario Party Superstars. Actually, you know what? Never mind. I'm putting it in Super Saiyan, because I'll tell you what my biggest flaw with this game is. There is not enough content, even though it is peak. So one, I'm happy we're back. You know, we are so back. We've got bigger boards. You know, we've got up to, you know, 35 turns or however long many turns you want to do in the game. You've got a lot of turns you can do in there. The games can take a while. You're back to that long form Mario style you have. You can even play online in the game from get-go. You can even save online. That way, you know, you don't have to do everything in one go, even though I usually do that. It's just the game is pure peak Mario Party. It's taken some of the best mini games from 1 through 8. Actually, I would say most of the mini games, best mini games from like 1 through 4, you know, or 1 through 5. They don't really lean into, you know, 6 to 10 that much. I think it's because even the boards are basically boards from Mario 1 through 3, but they don't do enough, bro. Like, give me, why didn't this game get DLC? This should have been like the definitive old school Mario Party. Like, every month or two, we're gonna add an old school board. We're gonna add more mini games from older games. Like, why didn't they just add more and lean more into the, the old school style of this game. That's like my biggest flaw with this game. And I know we shouldn't really we shouldn't flaw games for not having DLC, but we can flaw a game for not having enough, content when the point of the game is to represent old school content. How is there, like, we don't have a Bowser Castle level in this game. We don't have a snow level, right? Like, that's crazy. We don't even have, I don't think, a desert level, right? We have, the treetop area. We have the Haunted Mansion. We have Peach's Castle, which is not a fun board to play. You have the Yoshi's Island level, but like, that's really it. Or Spaceland, that's cool, but come on, man. I wish they had given me more characters. Why the fuck can't I play as a Toad in this game? But yeah, obviously, still limited in content, but some of the most fun I've ever had playing a game on this console. Next up, we have Super Mario Strikers. I'm going to put it in I, and let me explain why. I know everybody hates this game. This is the bane of people's existence, right? And I kind of agree, right? But I think the gameplay is still fun. I still think playing the game is inherently fun. There's cool gameplay techs you can do and everything. But again, the biggest flaw this game has is its content issue. One, the single player is not good. It is just, here's random CPU fights that are half the time broken or half the time not fun. Two, the online, what the fuck is going on? You have the Battle League mode that either forces you to make a team of 8 people of friends that maybe you don't have. Like, that's how ranked online works. And like, you can't even use the gear you want because it doesn't work that way if like your second person doesn't have that gear that you have. The gear system inherently like makes playing as a different character just ass, it makes it so that maybe you can never play as Bowser, you could just have heavy Mario, and I just think the way the online works, the way the single player is just like, there's nothing to do in the game. When you're playing with friends, it's fun. Can you play with 8 friends like they promoted? No, right? But when you're playing it, it is really fun. The game artistically is fantastic. I think animation-wise, some of the best in the series, right? And I love seeing, the victory poses and the music and everything. Like, I feel like aesthetic-wise, they nailed it, but just content-wise, just absolutely bafflingly bad. I don't know how they got away with this or why they even did it, because we wanted Mario Strikers back so bad, and I'm so worried that it's gonna be dormant now because the game didn't do as well, even though it sold pretty well considerably for the series. Just, I hope they mend things one day. I hope they make the online better. I hope they give us a roster someday with a crazy amount of characters, bigger arenas, just make it what makes it special. Alright, so Mario + Rabbids Sparks of Hope is the one I haven't really played till the end, so I can't really fairly rank it, but I'm gonna give it Super Saiyan from the fact that, I saw it get great reviews, and it seems like they did a good job inherently, taking the characters, adding more content to it, changing the battle system a little bit, which when I played it, I didn't really like the battle changes too much, but still a very cool upgrade, it seems like, and still, you get playable characters like Bowser, you got the cool Rayman DLC, it seems like they did a lot of good shit. Now, Mario Wonder, all the way up to UI, baby. That's right. Super Mario Wonder is peak. It is the 2D Mario I've been wishing for forever. If you guys watch this channel, I preached so long for how much I wanted a new 2D Mario with a unique style. And this game nailed it. And when it gave me a unique style, it gave me the wonder effect, which, changes levels like crazy all the time. I'm actually on my third 100% playthrough of the game because I love just playing it so much. I love swapping between the different characters. I love all the different gimmicks they have. I feel like some of them get fleshed out while some of them don't. I wish, we would have gotten more levels, where I'm like floating around in space, or give me more levels with the bull rushes, giving me more challenge levels with some of the, wonder effects would have been cool. But the game is consistently evolving. There's consistent things to do. There's so many levels, and they're all so much fun. It is some of the most creative 2D Mario's ever been, and it's like, this is the perfect representation of a 3D 2D Mario game, where like you take the creative insanity of a 3D Mario and you put it in a 2D game, make it something that I've wanted for so long, and the best 2D Mario since Mario World. Warioware Move It, I played this on stream. It's kind of clean. I think it's exactly kind of like the first game. It is super fun. It is super gimmicky. This one leans way more around the, the Joy-Con aspect of it, but the game is very funny. The game is entertaining. The game has really good micro games, some good representation of, the characters, and some good representation of even Mario and Nintendo games that are in there with the micro games. Like, still really fun game overall, but just something that you'll never go back to. And Super Mario RPG Remake, I will be putting in Super Saiyan. I know a lot of people adore this game. They swear by it, and I had a great time with it, man. I loved it. I didn't think it was as peak as some people said. I think the combat, inherently is a little limiting in some ways. You know, in some ways the game's really easy, so you're just kind of getting through fights as fast as possible. But very charming game, very charming characters, very cool, unique areas, and I'm happy it exists. I'm happy this remake exists because it's so beautiful. In fact, I feel like it's such a good realization of what a, you know, of how a remake of an SNES game can be, because the way the characters still move like SNES characters and still, you know, keep that charm and everything is just so good. Like I love so much about this game, even though I would have wanted it to be a little more like flesh. I think I'm too Paper Mario brain rot in a sense of like, I like the multi-A presses, or even Mario and Luigi style where like, you know, multi-button presses would have been cool, but a lot of times it just boils down to, you know, one button at the right time. The blocking is a little frustrating, but maybe that's a skill issue. But like I said, charming, cute, love it. And then these two games are not out yet. But yeah, so this is sort of what I would say is the ranking of the Mario output on Switch. I still think honestly, they've done a great job so far. There are some duds. Good thing that the duds are not necessarily things that people were hella looking forward to, except for Mario Strikers. But for the most part, the peaks are the ones that make sense, and a lot of good creative flexibility and everything. Nintendo, you did a good job, man. You cooked, bestie. I'm happy about that. So guys, thank you all for watching. Let me know your favorite Mario games on the console, and of course, I'll see you all next time. Peace out.